Okay, this is very important for the new version of the exam, org policies, which falls under the category of governance and compliance. So, suppose you have your own business, and for compliance reasons or security reasons, you need to ensure that all your data remains within the United States, or you need to prevent traffic from certain countries for compliance and security reasons. Or perhaps you want to make sure that all of your virtual machines are encrypted and meet certain security standards, no matter which team or department sets them up. How do you enforce these types of rules across your entire organization without manually overseeing every single project and resource? This is exactly where org policies come in GCP. So it's crucial to understand the role of these policies, especially for anyone aiming to achieve the professional data engineer certification. Org policies are a cornerstone of cloud governance and compliance in GCP. They offer you a way to enforce consistent rules across your organization's cloud resources. They're powerful because they provide a centralized, customizable way of controlling how resources are utilized within GCP, which is essential for large organizations or scenarios where security and compliance requirements are critical, and you want to reduce the overhead with managing, every department separately. For instance, in the context of security compliance, org policies can help enforce standards like requiring encryption for VMs or blocking public IP addresses. This ensures that your teams are adhering to the necessary security practices, no matter which department or project they're working on. And then when it comes to enforcing resource configurations, org policies allow you to control how resources are deployed. You can ensure that resources are only deployed in certain regions to meet compliance requirements, such as keeping all data within the United States. This would help avoid, violations, and it would help you maintain data residency standards. Another example is domain restrictions that can be enforced to limit who can access certain resources. For example, you might want to restrict access to resources based on the domain of the user's email address, ensuring that only authorized personnel or only personnel within your company can access certain services. So these policies are not just about setting constraints. They also enable a secure and compliant cloud environment. It's about that strategy for security and compliance and following regulations. When combined with Cloud IAM, which has its own dedicated section in this course, org policies help to provide a comprehensive framework for governance. IAM will control who can access resources, while org policies control how those resources can be used. And so this gives you full control over your cloud environment. It's really useful. And this prevents as well accidental actions that could lead to security breaches, non-compliance, or cost overruns. Sometimes what you're trying to prevent is not just someone breaking in or using resources, incorrectly in a way that's intentional, but just accidents. So it really acts as a safeguard against those for everyone in your organization if it's set up thoughtfully and correctly. So let's go over more specifically some of the most important org policies you need to know for the exam. Starting on the top left, we have the constraints/compute.resource locations policy. This allows you to constrain your resources to operate only within certain geographic regions. So if you need to ensure that all your data and compute resources are stored and operated within the United States or Europe, this policy enforces those geographic restrictions, helping you meet data residency requirements. Next is the IAM.allowed policy member domains policy. This controls which domains users must belong to. Alluded to this on the previous slide. It's useful when you want to restrict access only to people from specific trusted domains, such as your organization or a partner company. So it can help make sure that no one's added by accident or nothing nefarious happens where someone from a different company or organization is allowed to access your resources. Then we have compute.vm external IP access. This constrains or can even block VMs from having external IPs, which prevents them from being exposed to the internet. So that's important for securing your VMs, ensuring that they're not accessible publicly unless explicitly required. So that reduces the attack surface. Finally, on the bottom right is the constraints/compute.require OS login policy. This policy requires that users access virtual machines via IAM-based OS login, which ties SSH access to IAM roles. So you basically just don't have to manage SSH keys. It's the access through SSH is managed by IAM, and so that can be really convenient. That won't necessarily be as prevalent on this exam because it has to do with access to compute engine VMs, which is not as much of a data engineering thing, but it is one of the most widely used organization policies. Collectively, these policies help to ensure that your resources are secure, that they're compliant, that they meet standards. So they're really helpful in any kind of governance strategy. Let's talk a bit about how org policies work in Google Cloud and how exceptions can be applied at the lower levels of the resource hierarchy. First, starting with the principle of inheritance of policies. Org policies can be set at multiple levels within your organization's hierarchy, from the org level down to the folder level and project level. So as you can see in the diagram on the right, this is just an organizational resource hierarchy. Policies that are applied at the org level are inherited by lower levels like folders, and projects. They flow down from the higher levels down to the lower ones. Now, this brings us to the concept of creating exceptions. So at the lower levels, like at the project or folder level, you can override policies inherited from higher levels. This allows you to meet specific needs, for your specific team or for your specific department. These exceptions can either relax the policy, making it less restrictive, or tighten the policy, making it more restrictive based on the requirements of that specific project or resource. Of course, you have to have the permissions to make those exceptions, but it is possible. This structure provides the granular control you need over resources while still maintaining overall governance. So this balance between flexibility for individual teams or projects while keeping your organization compliant and secure is the whole idea behind this. That's all on org policies.